Right, we have now a final session which takes us up to lunchtime, and the format is different now. I'm going to be getting into an interview, which I'm very much looking forward to, and I'm going to be talking to Brandie, who is in charge of Marco Pierre White Restaurants. Brandie, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Martin. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for coming along today. Listen, let's just start up with some simple questions about, tell us a little bit about yourself, background, how you came into the MD role for the restaurants, etc. Just give us a bit of a scene set.
Sure. So I've been working in the consumer service delivery industry for about 19, 20 years now. I have worked in retail, hospitality and aviation. But of course, Martin, I didn't always know what I wanted to do. Like most people, I came out of university absolutely clueless and no plan for my career at all. But I was very lucky. I had a Saturday job at a Hilton. In fact, I had two. So I think I graduated on a Thursday. And then on the Monday, I just took myself to the People Services office up in the Hilton Hotel just to ask for some more hours because I had so much time on my hands. And I happened to bump into one of the directors of Hilton in the office. And he said to me, have you thought about the graduate program at all, Brandie? And I looked at him and thought, oh, well, not really. I'm going to look for a proper job, but I suppose I could apply for it and then wait till I get a proper job and then go and do that. He stared at me and went, "You do that, Brandie." And look, 19 years down the line, here I am, still in hospitality, still standing strong.
There you go. Brave. Fortune favours the brave, eh? Yeah. Hey. That's fantastic. Listen, I understand you are the only black female managing director in the branded restaurant industry. Lots to talk about that, but basically an opinion first. Do you think there should be more?
Yes, I am the only one, and yes, I think there should be more. But look, let's just unpick this in two categories, shall we? Let's just talk about the gender aspect of it. Yep. We all know that leadership, from a gender perspective, hasn't got any equity, in fact, globally. But let's bring it down to the UK. We know that in our FTSE organisations, the story is just quite scary. The top 100 FTSE organisations, CEOs only have 5% who are female. If you look at the FTSE 250, it's just 2%. Drill it down to FTSE 350, it's 5%. It is just not good enough. Gender representation from that perspective isn't great. And then you can intersectionally dissect it and bring it to ethnicity and race. And that's even more horrid, because out of what has been described as the top 1,099 super jobs in the UK, which comprises all our FTSEs, our big limited organisations, our civic society roles, civil service role, public services roles, only 0.3% of those leaders are of BAME or black origin. It's really worrying for so many reasons, from a role modelling perspective and for planning perspective. So I think there is a lot that we can do about it. I think we probably need to be a bit intentional about this and then look for real solutions to this real problem that we've got.
I agree. It's a topic with my partner I'm particularly keen on. The statistics are difficult. However, I would also suggest that role models such as yourself are equally important. So let's talk about that in the context of what we're discussing here in terms of the theme. We've got this theme going on at the moment about CX, marketing, and the importance of living in unprecedented times. It's quite a cocktail. How true, and then let's put that in the context of restaurants and hospitality. So what's the vibe in the sector? Is it true it's really unprecedented times? Is it a difficult, challenging time at the moment?
Absolutely, it so is. Customer behaviour and customer sentiment has just moved. And we're not quite sure what's happening there. We do know why, but we're confused. So right now, CX marketing strategies are so important because two of the biggest kits we've got in our toolbox, Martin, within the hospitality industry and certainly restaurants, is spend per head and Cover's Drive. spend per head all across hospitality businesses, majority is further down. Covers are down versus last year for obvious reasons, but also for reasons that are unknown to us. And so right now, it is so important that organizations across the hospitality industry have really agile CX marketing strategies that are on point, that meet the demand that we're currently not sure that we're going to meet. And this is very, very important. So I would question any organization right now within hospitality that hasn't got a solid CX marketing strategy. And I probably would worry about their sustainability.
Because you've been working with a lot of household brands, you know, over time. Reflecting on all of that experience, what would you say if you were going to advise other people that they should be concentrating on right now in the face of this pandemic?
I think the leaders that I think leadership, first of all, leadership is just so important. It's never been so important as it is right now. And I think the leaders that are emerging as winners and who will emerge as winners are those who are showing a lot of compassionate leadership, those who are being very clear in their messaging, those who are being competent, and those who have actually overarched all of this with a very low ego leadership exec team. Yes. Who have together put a plan in place, a rescue plan, who also have a long-term people agenda. Those are the winners that we're going to see from a leadership perspective right now.
I heard a great phrase earlier on today: servant leadership.
Absolutely, absolutely. Leadership is all about serving, isn't it? And sometimes we forget that. And I think right now that's all we need. We just need those skills, and those, I guess, the blocks that make that happen needs to be rebuilt. Yeah,
I would agree. So you're a finalist in the Black British Business Award 2020 Consumer and Luxury Senior Leadership category. And you're also voted as one of the top 50 listening leaders, which is a great category. I never knew that one existed. I like that. That's fantastic. So that must be a real source of pride and motivation for, obviously, yourself, but I guess also for the people in the business as well.
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Appreciate it. It is a great sense of pride to everybody, but for me, it goes beyond that, actually. These awards allow me to spotlight all the teams that I've worked with and all the organizations that I've been associated with throughout my career, throughout the 20 years that I've been around. Specifically, the director that looked me in the face and said to me, "You do that, Brandie," all those guys. But it also allows me to shine a light on everybody working in hospitality right now. There are amazing people within hospitality who do great things that I can't even begin to explain. And when you, myself, our friends and our family go out for dinner, there is so many people that make that experience possible, from a front of house perspective, back of house perspective, and across support head offices all across hospitality. So it allows me the opportunity to shine the light on these people. We also touched about role model earlier on. It does allow me to role model to anybody out there that really want to do what I'm doing now, but don't quite know how they can get into that business. That allows me to do that. And I think finally, as a pride moment, it does allow me to bounce back the appreciation to all the mentors that I've personally had throughout my career and all the people that have invested. And there's been loads of them, Andy Harrison, Moya Green, loads who've invested a lot of time in me to get me where I am. And so it is more than just a pride moment for me, my team, and everybody around me, but actually it's more of an honor and a privilege.
By the way, congratulations on getting that far. When's the final decision made, do you know?
In 2 weeks' time, that will be made on the 30th.
Cross fingers for you.
Thank you.
So, here's something that we hear loads. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Easily said, we all get that sentiment. My previous speaker said he likes to do 3-4 year planning. He's having to do minute by minute planning. So, his strategy is out the window, but he's feeling his way through. So I suppose that phrase of culture eats strategy has never been more true in this kind of pandemic. How do you feel that that is an applicable slogan for today's world, and how do you see that kind of playing out?
Oh, it's so on point. The triplets, that's what I call them. Because I've always said strategy, capability, and culture, these are triplets. They need to be aligned all the time. But I've seen it play out in so many ways. Of course, the game of football leadership have always had this right. There's always been a game plan in football. There's always been a team plan in football, sometimes team plan A, B, and C, game plan. And there's always been a plan for the supporters and the fans as well, what songs they need to sing, how they need to get the atmosphere going. So they've always been doing this. And it's brilliant to actually see mainstream business bring this to the forefront, especially organizations who are really serious about transformation. Because here's the thing, to do really well within any organization, within any business, you've got to understand your playground. You've got to know your turf so well. And then you've got to understand how you're going to win. You've got to have a plan of that. You've also got to know the nuances, the capabilities within the organization that's going to get you there pretty quickly, or the capabilities that are going to hamper you so you can actually deal with that before you move on. And then you've got to understand what is so special about that organization, the culture that's going to get you there. So those three have got to be aligned. But as we all know, in terms of multiple birth, and I should know, I've got twin boys, there is always one of those triplets, those twins, that's a dominant twin, or in this case, a dominant character. And this is where culture comes in. Culture will trump the two, the capability piece and strategy piece. And I've seen this play out well, because in some organizations, I'm beginning to see all those three departments coming under the same umbrella and the one chief. Where they can't do that, you have quarterly or even half-yearly meetings to strategically think about the capabilities, talk about the culture and how the plan is going to pan out, which is just brilliant to see.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And it's in these times, actually, that organisations are being discovered for whether or not they really are a real deal or they're not. You know, and it's all to do with the people, the culture, and the feel that goes with that stuff. Totally agree, totally agree. So I've got one last question. Crystal ball time, okay? So what are your hopes and fears for the whole hospitality sector going forward?
Hopes. I've only got one hope, Martin, and my hope is that hospitality recovers and recovers pretty sharpish, because here's the thing. It is such a huge industry, it cannot be allowed to fail. When you look at just the numbers, hospitality employs 10% of the UK population. It generates economic activity up to about 130 billion pounds a year, contributing about 38 billion pounds to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. It does contribute to 5% of GDP. It's a huge organisation when you bring it all under one umbrella in terms of the industry. And then you look at the social aspect of it, and it couldn't be so crucial. It's probably one of the only industries that's intertwined. Forget the fact that hospitality is bigger than aerospace industry. It is bigger than financial services. It's also bigger than the automobile industry. You just wouldn't think about it. But more importantly, we all know somebody that works in hospitality, either like myself that works in the hospitality industry, or people who know friends that work in the hospitality industry. We all somehow know the local person that runs our local fish and chip shop, for instance, or the manager of the local restaurant, or the person that owns the local cafe. It is an intertwined industry, and we cannot allow it to fail. So my hope is that it really does recover quickly. But I do have a fear as well. The longer this goes on, the more I worry. I worry that hospitality will lose all its talent. It's got so many talented people, from marketing right to food, through to interior design, loads of people that come together, HR, to make it happen. And I worry that we will lose all that talent to other industries, which will be a real shame.
So again, another cross-fingered moment, yeah?
Absolutely.
I've heard a couple of conversations today in which, again, people are beginning to invent a way out of the problem. You know, they're looking to new things. So I suppose if we reflect on everything we've just talked about, I guess some of the key things in here is leadership. Yeah. It's about the culture,
Yeah.
bringing the right things together in alignment. It's
Agreed.
prepared to think outside the box, I guess.
Yeah.
Stuff we've never tried before. And also something which you have conveyed really strongly through this conversation is just faith that stuff is going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on, Martin, as always.
Well, listen, it's time for lunch for all of us, but I've got to say that was a really inspiring conversation. That was great. And a really fun one too.
Thank you. Good to see you, Martin.
You too. Take care.
Take care.